Omolola, are you there, please?
Yeah, ma. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, hi, hello. Yes, that's our moderator. Thank you very much. And can you please introduce, do you have the names of the speaker with you?
Just a minute.
I think it's on the, what is it called? Mrs. Shomoye is the Director of Guidance and Counseling, representing the Commissioner for Lagos. And hold on. Then we have—
Very correct, ma'am.
Yeah, yes. So, and I'm going to actually welcome, I thank God for today. We are starting right now. I thank God for today. It's a beautiful day. We thank God that we are keeping safe and well. Everybody's looking beautiful. Please, if you can just show your face so that I can recognize your faces. Some people I've never met before, please.
Exactly.
Hello, Mr. Emmanuel. I can't hear you.
So can I speak? It's Professor Abiola Woshika there, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Hello,
Yes,
how are you? Nice to
I'm
see you.
very well, thank you.
What a beautiful face. Thank you very much. Yes. Can I, is Mrs. Bolanle Adewale? Those are our speakers.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Oh my God. Hello. How are you? And how are you keeping? Yes. So I want to welcome all our speakers. Then Miss Lade Olugbemi. Can I see your face, please? Miss Lade Olugbemi. She will come later. She knows. Okay. Dr. Ife, that's the chairperson of Start Children Initiative. Dr. Ife.
I am not chair, I'm vice chair.
Okay. I want to send the FBI to come and start looking for you. That's the chairman of Start Children Initiative. Yeah. So now we are going to start. So what happened is that the keynote speaker will be speaking for, it's going to be an interactive session. And part of it is that today we want to actually profile solutions about strategies and solutions concerning our children living with disability. And obviously we know that this pandemic, that's COVID pandemic, has actually created an opportunity to fill the social gap that the pandemic has really, the global pandemic has really exposed. The lockdown and how it affects our common good, like education, like health. But we are focusing on education today. And part of it is that what can we do to make sure that our children living with disability are not disadvantaged when it comes to their learning, especially in government schools and in the rural areas. Obviously, so those children, I don't think they have any access to learning. And what has actually come up from my experience, and I think everybody can actually bear with me and understand what I'm saying, is the fact that it shows the importance of technology. So how our children living with disabilities, are they exposed to technology? Is education inclusive? Is it accessible? Is a solution-focused conference. And what are the teachers? I remember when I did a conference when I did a survey in 2014 in Ogun State. What the teachers of special schools were saying is that they've not been doing capacity building, they've not been doing any training. So it's like a cap fits all. So how can we move beyond COVID in making sure that our children living with disability are not disadvantaged when it comes to their learning? Because there are two facts. No matter how complex the disability of any child is, they are first and foremost human beings. And every child has capacities. Every child. It's only that we have to take into consideration their differences and their limitations. And what is actually limiting them is not their impairment, it's the system.
Exactly.
No resources, no infrastructures. That is actually what is causing the disability, not the impairment. Technology has gone really far, but that is what's causing this. So now we're going to have honest discussion. There are some students on board, there are some panelists. But now I'm going to call the speaker. The first speaker will be speaking for 10 minutes. We are going to time. It's very crucial. So when it's 10 minutes, we are going to be stopped. And then the other speakers will be speaking for 5 minutes, just so that we can have a robust discussion with other people, and there will be question and answers. So we are going to have it for 2 hours. So you can now fire on the first speaker that is representing the commissioner, the Honorable Commissioner of
For education.
So Mrs. Shomoye, Shola Shomoye, the Director of Guidance and Counseling, Ministry of Education. Thank you very much. 10 minutes. Your 10 minutes starts now, madam.
Good day, everyone.
Good day.
It's an absolute honor to be here with you today to represent my Honorable Commissioner for Education in Lagos State, in the person of Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo. She who would have really loved to be here with us, but for the exigencies of official duties. Yeah. As we all know that education is a powerful instrument of social change and often initiates upward movement in the social structure, thereby helping to bridge the gap between the different sections of the society. The educational scene in the country, most especially in Lagos State, has undergone major change over the years, resulting in better provision of education and better educational practices. I would like to express my sincere gratitude even to our present government and the education family for the strong support and action that, has been taken since the beginning of this special situation we all find ourselves. Because in Lagos State now, our slogan in education family is that no child should be left behind. We can no longer celebrate the success of one group of pupils, while another group of students, are still struggling. So our state government, had been up and, doing in ensuring that one way or the other, the children with disabilities are being, taken care of. And as much as possible, we support best practices that we know are most effective. And at the top of that list of best practices is one simple word: inclusion. And by extension, bringing students with disabilities to the same high expectations as everyone else. I absolutely know that when we keep expectations high, students with disabilities, they do excel. Throughout the world, children who have disabilities and many others who experience difficulties in learning have traditionally been marginalized within or excluded from schools. These children with disabilities require the assistance of special educators in order to benefit from education. Depending on the degree of the disability and on individual characteristics, these children may be educated in residential schools, separate classes, or regular classes with support services provided by special teachers. Special needs education has undergone significant changes over the last several decades. Many of these changes have occurred due to enactment of national laws, parental groups, technology, experimental methods of instruction, identification, assessment technique, curriculum innovations, teacher training and certification. In Lagos State, children with disabilities are encouraged to be enrolled in schools after clinical assessments and some psychoeducational assessment by our assessment teams, which comprise of doctors, psychologists, and special educators. These children are placed in appropriate schools and educational setting. We have special schools in Lagos State. This is a program of the Ministry of Education through my own department, which is Child Guidance, School Counseling, and Special Education Unit, whereby children with profound or severe or multiple disabilities, mild, who have difficulty in coping with regular schools are referred to such special schools. We have 5 special primary schools and 31 primary inclusive units. We have 7 inclusive junior secondary schools and 6 inclusive senior secondary schools across our dear state, that is Lagos State. We have a residential special school that is free and is being funded by our state government. We have different categories of children with disabilities that needs to be integrated in special school system, which we call inclusive schools. We have children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have children with hearing impairment. We have children with physical and health impairment. We have children with visual impairment. We have children with learning disability, children with multiple handicaps condition. We have those who are autistics. You know, we have various categories. And we all know that education is a right of every child. And this brings us, you know, to the various conventions that have taken place over the years. We have the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1989, whereby Article 28 of this convention asserts the right of every child to education and requires that this should be provided on the basis of equality of opportunity. In other words, the convention allows no discrimination in relation to access to education on grounds of disability. Other articles on this convention, such as Article 29, together with Article 2, 3, and 23, seem to imply that all children have a right to inclusive education, irrespective of disability. So it's confirmed inclusive education and reflects the right to education in terms of the responsibilities of government to make education available, to make it accessible, to make it acceptable, and also adaptable to each and every child. Then the 1990 World Conference on Education for All, which we simply call EFA, on education, helped to focus attention on a much broader range of children who may be excluded from or marginalized within the education system because of the apparent difficulties. Such children may include those who are already enrolled in education, but for some reasons they do not achieve adequately. Those who are not enrolled in schools, but who could participate in schools if more flexible and, you know, some special guidance are provided. In this conference, inclusive education is regarded as the only means to achieve the goal of education for all, EFA. After this conference, the field of special education has developed relatively recently and unevenly in different parts of the world. Its development has involved a series of stages during which education systems have explored different ways of responding to children with disabilities and others who experience difficulties in learning. Many of the other trends display with the move to reintegrate the mildly handicapped in the regular education program, the increased interest in the training of the moderately and severely retarded and, you know, disturbed children as directly related to the social and legal pressure on the educational and mental health establishment. Then we have the standard rules on the equalization of opportunities for persons with disabilities, which held in 1993. This rule sets an international standard for policy making and action covering children and adults living with disabilities. Its chapter on education gives qualified support for inclusive education, saying countries should recognize the principle of equal educational opportunities in integrated settings for disabled children. They should also ensure the education of disabled people as an integral part of the wider education system. According to Rule 6, in situations where the general school system does not yet adequately meet the needs of all persons with disabilities, special education have to be considered. It should be aimed at preparing students for education in general school system. The quality of such education should reflect the same standard and ambition as general education and should be closely linked to it. At a minimum, students with disabilities should be afforded the same portion of educational resources as students without disabilities. States should aim for the gradual integration of special education services into the mainstream education. It is acknowledged that in some instances, special education may currently be considered to be the most appropriate form of education for some students with disabilities. Then we also have the Salamanca Statement in 1994. This statement, adopted by the World Conference on Special Needs Education in 1994, reconfirmed new trends and declared the aim of EFA by considering what basic policy changes are needed to promote inclusive education so that schools can serve all the children, particularly those with special educational needs. This statement says that regular schools with an inclusive ethos are the most effective way to combat discriminatory attitudes, create welcoming and inclusive community, and achieve education for all. It gives the highest priority to making education system inclusive and investment in the vocational aspect of inclusive education. Specifically, the statement argues that regular schools with an inclusive orientation are the most effective means of combating discriminatory attitudes, creating welcoming communities, building an inclusive society, and achieving education for all. Moreover, this provides an effective education for the majority of children and improve the efficiency and ultimately the cost effectiveness of the entire education system. The Salamanca Conference marked a new point for millions of children who had long been deprived of education. It provided a unique opportunity to place special education within the wider framework of the EFA movement. This goal is nothing less than the inclusion of the world's children in schools and the reform of the school system. This has led to the concept of inclusive school. The challenge confronting the concept of inclusive school is that of developing a child-centered pedagogy capable of successfully educating all children, including those who have serious disadvantages and disabilities. This is leading to a consideration of the future roles and purposes of specialties and facilities in the special needs fields. Then, last but not the least, we have the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in the year 2006. This convention recognized that the disability is an evolving concept and that disability results from interaction between...
4 minutes, 2 more
Okay,
minutes.
ma. That disability results from interaction between persons with impairments and attitudinal and environmental barriers that hinders their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis. Persons with disabilities can access an inclusive, quality and free primary education and secondary education on an equal basis with others in the communities in which they live. And this convention changed the clinical model of special education and disability to the social model of disability. In conclusion, I began with compulsory education for all, that is EFA, and more needs to be done to create an enabling and inclusive environment for people with disabilities as special needs. Our acceptance of these people represent the soul of our country. It encourages us to be more transparent, empathetic, and compassionate of one another, accepting them. To achieve this, we need to continue to create opportunities and space for these students and adults with disabilities as they do to have a place and role to play in our beloved state and country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Can somebody talking on the can the host mute them, please?
It's not from this place.
No, I know, not you. I'm just telling somebody that is talking in the background.
Yeah. The microphone should be muted.
Yes, they should mute them.
Yeah. So, Ms. Alexander, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Thank you really very much. I mean,
Yes,
you made some, I mean, you acknowledge that there are problems and
Yes.
that it needs to be fixed, and you make some, how they can make e-learning accessible and inclusive for children with disability. Thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
very much. Thank you,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you, thank you, thank you very much.
Great, Alexander.
Still hold on because, yeah. So still hold on because I'm going to, we're going to ask some questions as well.
Okay, ma'am.
So I'm now going to ask the second speaker. That's, hold on. Professor Awoshika, please.
Yes, good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Very
Nice
well,
to see
thank you.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And
Thank you,
we know
ma'am.
that we will be able to leverage on your wealth of experience. Thank you very
Very
much.
well. All right, thank you so much for making time this afternoon to be with us. I would like to share my screen, if I may.
Yeah, you're having 5 minutes, ma'am, to speak.
Yes, ma'am, that's all right. It would
Okay.
give me the chance to quickly go through what I have to say.
Okay, okay.
All right. Education for children with disabilities. We know that people with disabilities are about 27 million. That's about the size of Lagos State. It's huge. And 1.3%, 1.3 million of them are children. That is even bigger because that's 5% of that population. 3 out of 5 will go to primary school, so it's 780,000. 50% of them that go to primary school will finish. So that gives us 390,000 out of that 1.3 million that we identified. Now scale that through secondary school and tertiary institutions, and we have almost nothing to speak about. So it talks about the disadvantage of this sector. Madam had already shared, the types of disabilities that we have in Nigeria, but really, the problem is multidirectional, and it's related to poverty. Disability leads to inequality. Inequality leads to poverty. Poverty leads to economic disadvantage. And economic disadvantage leads to reduced employment opportunities, which leads to lower adulthood productivity due to lack of education. And more likely, people are not employed, and even if they're employed, they would earn less than their counterparts. So when I was doing this research, I kept on getting more and more deflated because it's a huge number of our children that are facing these kinds of challenges. Now, some of the issues that I can identify are, scarcity of teachers, and even if the teachers know what disability is,
Scarcity of materials.
we find out that the classroom teachers don't even know how to identify a child with a disability that is not obvious. So almost every single one of our teachers need to be trained to identify children with disabilities, especially learning and developmental disabilities. The scarcity of materials. And we know that special ed education is expensive, and it's inclusive of all the gadgets and materials that they need to survive. And so we don't have that. There's scarcity of funds. Our schools are overcrowded and underfunded. And so this gives us a lot of difficulties. Well, we can, in the space of 5 minutes that I have, I'd like to prefer some solutions. Where there's scarcity of teachers, let's incentivize students to study special education at higher institutional level. Let's give them a break, maybe a scholarship or something to encourage them to study special ed. Let's encourage our universities to research and create for the children, like the Irede Foundation that creates limbs for small children in Nigeria. Let's find ways of making these things affordable. The government and the school system must plan and budget for grants and scholarships and spending, private tutors for students that need it. All of these have to be budgeted and funded. We shall have to increase the number of devices at our disposal. We know right now that e-learning is the rage, but a lot of these children don't have access to it. Even radio, that is probably the least technologically advanced of those, are not available for these children. So let's put our heads together and invent maybe a device that's only used for radio and television. It's for learning, and the children have it. They're tuned to the radio station, they're tuned to the one television station, and they have different wavelengths that caters to different classes, and they are getting educated at the same time. Our teachers and lecturers must be trained to identify when students don't have learning disabilities. Public enlightenment for a change of mindset, because a lot of times these children suffer the stigma of being physically or otherwise challenged. So let's with the passion that we're looking for, made in Nigeria, personal protective equipment, let's invest in research and development for these children with disabilities, so that we can produce things that would be useful, assistive technologies for these children. And then my final thought is with distance and e-learning. It is good. I mean, I'm actually sharing my slides because I was expecting that at least in this forum there would be those who maybe are hard of hearing, but at least they can read the slides, so that they can follow along with me. That is what e-learning allows us to do. So it takes place in independence of location and independence of time. So these children, if they learn slowly, they can learn slowly. If they learn fast, they can learn fast. If they can't hear, they can see. If they can't see, they can hear. So all of these is what e-learning has made possible. It has the potential to remove barriers from experienced by students. It ensures resources can be available for all, and it allows individuals' learning styles and preferences to be accommodated. And so e-learning paradigm is guaranteed for everyone, including people with disabilities. And they're not prevented from accessing technology-supported resources and services. So as a whole, in conclusion, we as stakeholders in this environment, we need to change our philosophy of work and learning, orientate everything towards the disabled child. We need to show commitment to increase accessibility, and we need to change our attitudes and mindset towards people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. That was quite impressive as well. You mentioned, thank you very much, ma'am. You mentioned a lot of, thank you very much. I mean, we're learning from your wealth of experiences and from your knowledge as well. And part of, you've actually offered some solutions we're looking for to make sure that irrespective of any area those children are, they should be able to access learning. And why we are doing this is that in case there is any crisis again, where there is a lockdown, where there's any pandemic, the children will not be disadvantaged, because right now they are not doing anything and it's obviously affecting their life chances. So thank you very much. Please stay with us, ma'am, because there's still going to be question and answer from the
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you
very much. I'm now going to call on the third speaker, Mrs. Bolanle Adewoye, who is going to take us on inclusive education. Every child should be educated. Is that what you mentioned? Is that your topic? That's
Yes, yes, pretty much.
Yes, inclusive education, and it will embrace every child. Thank you very much. So she is actually, you are actually, introduce yourself, please.
So my name is Bolanle Adewale. I'm the Executive Director of the Learning Place Center. The Learning Place Center is a day school for boys and girls living with autism and other related developmental disorders in Lagos. We run an inclusive setting as well as a mainstream, as well as a special needs setting. My topic today basically is about inclusive education. And when I talk about inclusive, it just two words I use to explain inclusive is everybody and everywhere. So everybody is part of the system, and everybody is part of the system in every environment. There is no limitation to what we call inclusion. Everyone needs to be allowed to participate. Everyone should be given an opportunity. Everyone should be heard. Everyone should be listened to, should be given an opportunity to express themselves and just be part of the system whilst being embraced fully. And there are two types of inclusion. There's inclusion in the mainstream setting as well as inclusion in the special needs school itself. So in the mainstream setting, you have the special needs children coming to interact with children with typical children without any form of disability. Then you have the children in the special needs setting who also go through inclusion. And inclusion, I mean, people would wonder how you can still have inclusion in a special setting. It's very easy. Every child within the environment has a distinct need. So every child's need is different. It's very important that we know that children with special, if you've seen one child with special needs, you've only seen one child with special needs. The mistake we commonly make is to put every kind of need within the same setting and expect to get some positive result. If you have a child with cerebral palsy, a child with autism, a child that's hearing impaired, a child that's visually impaired, you put them all within the same environment, there is definitely very little learning, if at all, that will be going on within that system. So it's very important to note that every child's needs are peculiar and every child's needs are unique to the child. Every teacher within the environment has to be trained. So in the mainstream school, it's very important that we train the teachers, like Professor Woshika said. It's very, very important that each teacher is trained to identify the challenges of each child. And besides identifying, they should also be trained to work with them. The working with them takes special skill sets. There's no doubt about that. And yes, it is very expensive. It can be expensive to have specialists that would work with the children. But it's also important to know that we can manage costs. We don't always have to use the grandeur or the very elaborate system to be able to achieve what we need to achieve. Once we note that there are other ways, what's most important is that every child needs to get access to education, regardless of their situation. Every child can learn. It just depends on what we give to them. If we believe they can do things in advanced world, I always give this example about the advanced world where companies, there's a company in Germany called Oticon. Oticon employs mainly people with autism. And this is because they know that they have skills to offer. They know that they can actually make a difference to the society, to the community, and to the country. There is also Microsoft. A segment of Microsoft also focuses on empowering by employment people with special needs. So if this is happening in the advanced part of the world, what are we waiting for in Nigeria? Because some of them are highly skilled. They're skilled in ways that you and I are not. They're able to offer much more to the system, much more to our community, much more to our environment. But the mistake we would make is to think that they have special needs, and because they have special needs, we're not giving them as much as they need to get. Mrs. Shomoye talked about all the existing laws and all the equality opportunity, the means to give the child education for all, integral part of a wider education system. So these are very, very necessary and they're known. But my question is, are they really being implemented? Because if we implement them, and we do recognize that we have the challenges that exist. There's definitely the challenges, and I don't expect that government will do it alone. Lagos State so far has done an extensive work. I mean, I definitely at every point will give credit to Lagos State government and what has been established, even in this time of COVID. A lot has been put in place, and there's been a lot of changes, and I commend Lagos State for that. However, we still need to do a little bit more, especially for children with special needs. We have the 31 inclusive schools. We need to make sure that the teachers in the inclusive school are adequately trained to be able to deliver the kind of learning that will make the children function independently. The most important way to get them to learn will be to understand that the differentiated learning, to apply differentiated learning to each child. And that basically just means identify the child's needs and give that child what the child needs. It wouldn't be one class where you have everybody doing exactly the same thing. That won't work. It has to be a system whereby every child is an individual. But yes, I understand what will make that expensive to accomplish. And in such an instance, even if we note that, okay, yes, we may not have adequate means to be able to optimally achieve what we set out to achieve, there's also the opportunity to train other people, like Professor Aoshika said. We can actually train the undergraduates themselves, and we can also train the parents. So there can be a section where we just know that we're focusing, and this is also something that's arranged by the government. So rather than train teachers only, we can also employ the ability to train parents, because most of these parents are willing. They're willing, but they just do not know how. You know, when we started the online school at our school, it was amazing how many parents actually showed up to want to learn themselves, because they're at home in the background and they see their children learning, and they've contacted us, reached out to us, asking us to please equip them, give them training sessions to help them get to the next level. And I know that these are just parents that I know, but I can assure that I'm sure many more parents are willing to learn if only they're trained on how to. Then there's also the option of having a community-based learning center. So if we don't, if the schools are not even able to deliver based on the lack of funds, there is the opportunity that, like the United Nations has something called the school in a box. School in a box is actually, it moves around. It's not brick and mortar where you go to one place mainly. So if you have that sort of setup in a community, within a community, where we know that the special needs children, I mean, not that many, just a few children at a time are being taught and are being promoted, given the opportunity to learn on an individualized basis, still, we will be able to get much more results for the children. There's the use of the radio. In these times now, especially, they are left out to a large extent, especially the children at the state level. They're left out. Even some of the children at the private level too, they cannot cope with online school. And it's been very hard trying to establish and make sure that this is something that we do and sustain. But you have children with a short attention span. You have different challenges. You have the technological challenge, the glitch where you cannot predict what's going to happen. There's the cybersecurity. There's a lot of factors. Yes, okay, there are lots of factors to consider, but what's most important is that we should at least set out to make sure that we get the best for the people living with special needs. So there's the differentiation, and then there's also, bearing in mind, the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which talks about equitable education for every child. So there's no segregation, there's no separation of children. Every child is given the opportunity. So as a community, as a country, as a nation, the prayer is to focus on the children and know that it's very important that whatever we do at every planning stage, it's very important that we also plan and incorporate their needs into everything that we do. If we do this, it will be better for us as a nation, it will be better for us as a country, and we will be able to, through empathy, will then reflect, and we'll be able to have optimal services that are given by the children with special needs, because they do have the ability to, if only they're given the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, my takeaway from here is that not only the teachers are going to be trained, the caregivers or parents needs to be trained as well, which is an addition to what they've been saying. And you also mentioned about a community-based center where they can train the children and they can train the parents or the caregiver. Thank you very much. We are still going to do the question and answer session. So I will now call on is Lade there, please? Lade Odubemi.
Yes, I am here.
Okay, thank you very much. Just for 3 minutes, can you please talk on how, because these children obviously missing learning or education during this period, obviously can affect their mental health. And if you can say something for 3 minutes on how they can be supported to make sure that they are not being affected by worry, by fear, and how they can cope during this pandemic period. Thank you. So Lade is a mental health trainer. He's also one of our partners, and he's also the CEO of News Organization. So Lade, thank you for your time, because she's actually working, so she has to take a break during this period. So we really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to say thank you to all the earlier speakers. It's fantastic listening to everybody. I've got just 3 minutes to talk quickly on a topic that I'm really passionate about, and that's on mental health. Oftentimes when we talk about mental health, we, from the Nigerian perspective, I'm glad things are changing now. The views we had were of people who have tattered hair, tattered bodies, don't have very, very incongruent in their speeches and all of that. However, what we don't realize, or some of us, or the general populace don't realize, is that there's a very close link between physical disability and mental health. I've heard the 3 speakers who have spoken ahead. I sat in, actually was listening to everybody. And yes, we've talked about how we respond to the physical needs of people who are disabled. It's a physical need of those who cannot hear, those who cannot see, visually impaired, or those who may be physically impaired. However, what a lot of us are missing is the fact that the mental health, the mental well-being of people who have disability is often neglected. We don't talk about it enough, and we don't know about it enough, which is really heartbreaking. So how would you know, for example, if somebody who has autism, whether it is a presentation of the autistic behavior or whether it is mental health? Oftentimes, the link between learning disability and mental health is so blurred that we do not understand why. And I'm here just to raise awareness to all of the distinguished ladies and gentlemen who are on the platform here today, that there's a need for us to recognize that people who suffer with various forms of disability do have mental health as well. And there's a need for us to look out for their mental health, because what we've been looking out for is more of their physical health. And why am I saying this? The reason is because there's a growing public health need. There is a growing concern now that mental health is increasing. We have an aging population, people are getting a lot older now. And that obviously comes with all the various things that come with learning disability, physical disability as well. It's a fact that people who are disabled oftentimes are really constrained the ability to socially mobilize or to socially interact with other people. And we have found out that loneliness and isolation is often a trigger of stress and often a trigger of mental illness. And if you notice, I've used the word mental illness and mental health. We all have mental health. I think that is a basis, or that is a prima facie. It's something that I need to establish, first of all, that we all have mental health, whether physically disabled or mentally disabled. We all have mental health. We all have mental health. But however, there are some people in the population who are more predisposed to what can trigger off mental illness. And those are people who have various forms of disability. When a person cannot hear properly, when they cannot hear, when a person is audio, when a person is visually impaired, there is attendant factors that they're going to be excluded. And when a person is excluded, that means that social interaction is really, really limited. I'm here to say, amongst all of the various things that we're talking about, the need for us to make sure that equipment are right, that we put the day centers in place, there's a need for people, parents. I like what Mrs. Shorimoye just said now, the previous speaker that just spoke now, that we need to make sure that we train people. People need to be trained to recognizing what mental health is, what positive mental health is, and what bad mental health is. There's a need for every carer, every teacher, every community leader to actually be trained to understanding what positive mental health is and what negative mental health is. And what are the little signs that we can look out for people who are disabled? Is the fact that sometimes people may withdraw more than normal, that they used to withdraw before. They could be snappy. But the truth is, for those who have learning disability, there is a very blurred line, and it's very difficult. It's something that you need specialist training to be able to understand. But I'm just here to say, because I know I have 3 minutes and I don't want to go more than the minutes that I have, that we do need to be aware, and we do need to be very conscious that mental health, that people who have physical disability, learning disability, do have mental health as well. And we need to be conscious and aware of how to support them and what those signs are. I can't go through all of those signs in 2 minutes, or 30 seconds more that I have, but it's just to say, we do offer training, and if there's training where you are, please do intentionally incorporate those training as part models for those who are caregivers and those who train and those who support as well. Thank you very much. I don't want to go more than my minute. I actually had a presentation.
Thank you very much. Maybe they will have some questions later. And thank you very much, Irede Odugbemi. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. And part of it is that disability and mental health are linked. They are intertwined, very intertwined. And one of the things is that those children, because they have disability, does not mean they are not emotional. They don't go through a lot of stress or anxieties that people do. The way of their expression might be different, but obviously they too, they are human beings with emotion. So they might not be able to express it the way we understand, but we should make sure that teachers, caregivers are aware how to actually handle those children who are exhibiting some mental health issues. So thank you very much. I'm now going to recognize, we're going to the panelists. I'm going to call Lola Anike. He's an educator for excellence. And I'm going to actually introduce some of acknowledge some of the people that have that are attending this wonderful conference. I'm going to recognize Mr. Adesola Mutiu Owolabi. He's a lecturer at the Department for the Gifted. Sorry. He's a lecturer for the Gifted and Talented Learners, Federal College of Education, Special, Oyo State. And I'm also going to recognize our other panelists representing, hold on, I'm trying to check. Sorry. Yeah, okay, getting it now. I'm going to acknowledge some of the speakers will be part of the panelists as well. But I want to also recognize the Director of Special Education, Mr. Akonji Olayinka, Mr. Omotosho, Deputy Director of Special Education, Ministry of Education, Oyo State. And I'm also going to acknowledge the Ministry of Women Affairs, Oyo State.
Thank you very much.
Olajo, Director Child Welfare, Mr. Samaru, Deputy Director Social Welfare, Mrs. Abdusalam, Deputy Director Child Welfare. And I'm also going to recognize the representatives of the Ministry of Education for your state, Mr. Akonji Olayinka. I think Mr. Akonji,
thank you very much.
There. And I'm also going to recognize Mr. Omotosho, who is also, the two of them are representing the Ministry of Education, Deputy Director Special Education for your state. So thank you very much for coming. And I'm now going to hand over to the moderator for this session, Mrs. Lola Omolola Anike. She's an educator. She has an academy. She's very well versed, but excellent when it comes to specialists.
Thank you so much, Val. Thank you, Val.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today. This means a lot to us, and we really appreciate you. And every of the speakers have spoken so well. We've all heard what to do, what we need to do, what we need to do to educate our children, particularly children with special needs, children living with disability at this COVID period. Now, I'm very grateful to all the speakers who have spoken. Ms. Adewale, I truly appreciate you. Professor Abiola, I appreciate you. And Mrs. Awoshika, I truly appreciate all the points you have highlighted. I'm going to be mentioning the names of my members of the members of my panel of discussion this afternoon. I have Professor Abiola Awoshika, ma'am. So we're going to be talking to you very briefly. Mrs. Bolale Adewale, we're going to be talking to you specifically very briefly. Mrs. Shola Shomoye, Mr. Akonji Olayinka, Mr. Kolajo, Mr. Oje. Mr. Oje, we acknowledge your presence and we appreciate you. You're a member of the panel of discussion today. And Dr. Ife Akintunde. So we've all spoken so well, we've highlighted what we need to do. Because this issue is very dear to our heart, this is a roundtable discussion. So we'll be speaking heart to heart. We're not going to be speaking above our heads. We're going to be very practical about all that we've said that is meant to be done. Because it's one thing to know what to do, and it's another thing to know how to do it. So the first person I'll be speaking to today is Professor Abiola Awoshika. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much. Your presentation, I kept on taking screenshots. I'm like, very important point is, Professor, ma'am, I want to be like you when I grow up, ma'am. Very detailed.
Thank you so much.
You know, and I really appreciate that. We're going to highlight some of the points. A lot of the points, you covered almost everything we discussed here. So my question to you today is, we now know what to do. The how to do it is the challenge. So the question I'm putting up to you is that we are aware of remote learning, distant learning, online presence, which you already take a lot of things about, you know. But the question we're saying now is, how do we deal with the issue of accessibility for children with, for parents and children from low income background? How do they access all the technological devices, and how do we provide internet services? But these are the reality of these parents. They know, they are aware that yes, e-learning is taking place right now. A lot of them actually feeling disadvantaged at this moment. How do we ensure that this e-learning is actually it's equitable in the sense that everybody, be you a person from a low income background or not, educated or not, how do we ensure that these children, this family are not left out in this e-learning?
Thank you very much. I really wish I could say that one person is gonna, put money down and everyone will be included. But apart from financing, there's a lot of infrastructural development that needs to happen for every Nigerian to have access to the internet. If you take a look at the number of Nigerians that have internet access now, we're about 92 million, but those are actually double counted. If you have internet at work, you're counted, and then if you have at home as well, you're counted. So maybe that number is even less than 92 million. For now, what we can do, and I hope, and some of these internet providers are listening. The governments are speaking to them, and they're giving free access where the government is concerned. They're giving free internet access to certain platforms, but that is not enough. So we we need a public-private initiative that will raise funds to supplement internet access. But even without internet access, we still have low technology that some of these students can still use, so that students in private, low-income primary, low-income secondary schools can plug into radio and television. But even phones are still difficult for them to have. So it's a whole mess. But there are even I think the Commissioner for Education in Lagos State is actually raising funds to buy phones for students in low-income schools. So these are some of the things that we as individuals, because we can't tell the government to do it. They can't. They can't afford to do it, and they won't do it because they don't have the funding. Even now that the price of oil is down, the pandemic is causing a lot of financial problems for Nigeria. It's beyond what the government alone can handle. So internet service providers, we ourselves, and even some of the people that own the technology for Zoom. Zoom consumes a lot of gigabytes. So can they make it even lighter so that people won't spend so much money? Just like WhatsApp, let's make it such that people can afford to do Zoom and not break the bank. So I think a combination of things is what we have to do to solve that problem.
Thank you so much, man. That was a brilliant response. Very brilliant. I'll quickly run through what you just mentioned to us. You said financing is very important. We need to understand that we can't do anything without finances. You said we still need to build up our infrastructural development, that we need to mount internet, what do you call it now, the mass in different parts of the remote areas. You also said that the internet service provider should make it more accessible as opposed to the high tariff, and just, everybody should get access to have access to internet. The internet service provider should do that job. And then you said that we could use radio, lesser technological tools such as radios and TVs, which we totally appreciate that. But we also have issue of power. So even when we decide to use TVs and radios, we also have the issue of power. And that's where you talk about the public and government partnership, public-private initiative, whereby even the members of the society can actually be of help to our neighbors. Thank you very much for that. That was a brilliant one. Now I'll go to Mrs. Shola Shomoye. Are you there, ma'am? Thank you so much, Prof. I'll come back to you very soon.
Yes, please, I'm here.
Mr. Lashimoye, I was just taking note. I said that is Lagos, a call for show. Well done.
Yes, so Lagos for sure.
Yes,
the pace setter.
Sure. Yeah, the pace setters. We give it to you. We give it to
Thank you. Thank you.
So, my question to you right now, Ma, as soon as the COVID pandemic started and everybody knew that we had to switch to e-learning, everyone, almost everyone, without even considering the pros and the cons and all of that, everyone wanted to switch to e-learning. The access to the curriculum itself is one thing. Some people not able, we just have to use Zoom. We have to use all of those tools. That is the new normal. Now, we are also aware that in the midst of this, we have some quacks who are claiming that they can solve this problem for children with special needs. Bring your child to us, we know what to do. Now, what are the regulations, what are the regulations and regulatory framework that are in place right now to forestall such situations?
Let me get you.
Okay. Are you there, Ma? Can you hear me clearly now, Ma?
Let me have the question again, please.
Okay, I said as soon as we got into the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all realized, every educator realized, everyone realized that we needed to switch to e-learning. Of course, as human beings, we tend to take advantage of one another in any field or any sphere of life. We're also aware that there's some people out there who are not well equipped or do not have the technological know-how to educate our children with special needs, but they claim to be able to. So we have some quacks in quotes. As a government body, do you have any regulatory things in place or regulations in place to ensure that this does not take place or people are not taken advantage of, all in the name of e-learning?
Well, as we are all aware, this issue just dropped on all of us suddenly. It's like, you know, just a bomb without adequate preparation. And because of this situation we found ourselves, we are just finding ways of survival. And with this situation right now, when you are talking of maybe laws, you know, to safeguard and things like that, things are in process, I would say in progress, because, you know, every now and then, my honorable commissioner have been coming around, you know, to warn private school, you know, owners and things like that of the need to checkmate themselves in charging fees unnecessarily, because some schools are even, you know, maybe charging for the next term that are not supposed to be so. The Ministry of Education had been coming around, you know, to make pronouncement, but, you know, it's a process, and it's like we found ourselves in this situation just suddenly. By and by, you know, we will get our footing.
Thank you so much for that response. So yes, we are aware that this could take place or this is happening, and there's a plan in place. Like you said, I'm trying to rephrase everything you just said to us, that you are very much aware as a government body, and that you are putting system and plans in place to ensure that this does not go on. And of course, the Honorable Commissioner for Education has been very vocal about this fact that we know that this is an issue and we don't want anybody to be exploited. And of course, it's a process, which we totally agree. So the most important thing for me is that we are aware and we are working towards making things better for the benefit of all our children, particularly children with disabilities. Thank you so much, Ma, for that answer. I'll move to the next beautiful lady. You all are beautiful. Women are so strong. Almost all the speakers are women. Now, Mrs. Balale Adewale. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Wow, you are an inspiration. I remember the moment, the first week that the COVID pandemic fell on us, so to say. I remember personally called to you. I'm like, Auntie Balale, what are we going to do? What do we do? And your response to me as a mentee it blew me off, really, to see what you're doing. And you actually put out your child video to encourage parents and children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Motherla.
To be able to do that, and you're encouraging others to do that. Thank you so much. Now, you've said quite a lot of things to us this afternoon. Every of the points you made mention of a valid point. I'm going to throw this question to you because you have done it. I want to see how it's going to work for every other person out there, particularly government schools, because most of the issue we have is that private, and I hate to say this, but it's the government is a bit slow. Government schools are a bit slow. Private sector seems to move very fast, not because of issues of funding and other factors. I cannot tell, but we realize that the private schools moved very fast when it came to adjustment and switching to e-learning for our children. Now, the question I have for you is that you have talked about training of teachers, training of parents. You talked about the use of technology and how it can be used. Would you please tell us how, for those of us here, how possible it is? What are the step-by-step ways and strategies you use to get, because you said some of the parents were ready, they turned up for the trainings. How can the government, how can other institutions with children with special needs benefit from this, how can they practicalize how can they duplicate the processes into ensuring that parents and teachers are trained to provide e-learning for children with disabilities?
Thank you very much, Omola. I think that's a very valid question, because it's one thing to say and give all the proposed or suggested solutions, and then it's another thing to actually be able to implement. And I think the implementation is what is really, really significant. So the first thing I would say, if we set out to train or work with children with special needs during this time on the remote platform or through virtual teaching, will be to identify who these students are. It would be nice to know what their disabilities are. So we start out with actual, more like an assessment process, but I know that assessment online may also not be very feasible. I would suggest a questionnaire, a survey is sent out to the parents with the pertinent questions that will guide us towards designing a program for each child. So once we've gotten the responses and we know the children we're dealing with, we know the different categories, the different levels, we begin to profile the solutions. It will be very important to design a curriculum, or well-designed curricula based on who the children are. Remember I said earlier that it's not one size fits all. Every child is different. So it's very important that based on the responses from the questionnaire or the survey that is done, we then create the curriculum to fit the actual abilities of each child. Then it's important to make sure that also the materials that one works with may not necessarily be what we use in the sophisticated or modern world. Materials can be improvised. So things for counting, we can get seeds, we can get bottle tops, or different things that we can actually use to teach the children to learn. One of the things that I find limits us is that we're waiting for that grand plan. We're waiting for the grand equipment to use with the children. And in the process, time is not waiting with us. The time keeps on passing. So it's important to use what we can get. Whatever our hands can get at the time, it's very important to get them and improvise on how best to use them. And once all those things are in place, then we come to the issue of the actual mode, the platform on which to present these lessons. It's very hard to access a lot of things. Like every speaker has said on this platform today, that it's almost impossible. There's a financial limitation, which makes it impossible to access technology, to access the computer is even, it does not even exist to this category of children that we talk about. But there's a telephone, there's the radio, there's the TV. There are all these other options that even they, as much as we think they're very little and easy to get, some families still do not have access to it. So once we know this, and we've designed what we plan to do with the children, I would say we send different people to different parts of the communities to work with the people that are actually on ground. Because if we may not be able to give to them, work with them, train them. And when I say go to the different communities, it doesn't mean to go there physically, well, virtually. A lot of our movements and activities are now done virtually. But be able to access the exact people, the main people that are in charge of working with children and training them, so that these people are trained and prepared for actually delivering the children. Besides that, and the parents, like I said earlier as well, the caregivers. But what's most important that everyone has also said here today is the public-private initiative. That partnership can never be overestimated. It's a needed one. It's going to bring a lot of solutions. And when we even talk, it's not just even the corporate bodies now, and it's not just government, even us. Each person has a role to play. If we all determine to pick one thing or the other up towards the learning and towards the maximal functionality of these children, it will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Brilliant, brilliant response. You made mention, I'll try and recap all that you said to us, but something struck particularly, something stayed with me while you were speaking. You talked about reaching out to these people after identifying the peculiar needs and the platform that you might be able to reach them to. Go specifically, manage each issue based on that individual need. And I remember being at a platform and we had different people from different parts of the world. And in the UK, Miss Grace, Auntie Grace Alexander, please, you might want to testify to that. I mean, it wasn't you I spoke to, but I was told that children with special needs and their providers, service providers, are identified as essential service providers. So they are given that freedom to actually move, of course, being aware of the danger of COVID, but you can, I mean, have your restrictions, but you are still able to move.
I know what I mean. Okay,
with special needs in their homes, or they're able to come to school also because of their peculiarities. So the issue of having them as opposed to those,
place your school wrong.
Can we have it down, please? Sorry. There's noise at the background.
There's noise at the back. Please mute yourself. Mute yourself. Stop being.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Know, we might want to look at that. So immediately you mentioned that as you might not be able to go there physically, but you need to identify who needs what. Because what the lady said to me was that some children could not come back to school. Some children could not access e-learning, but we had an alternative plan whereby the government actually made it a law, a semi-law, so to say, made it okay for special needs service providers and children with disability essential services. So we might want to look at that as part of the solution to what we're actually going through here in Nigeria. But I'll recap all that you said. You said it's very important for us to identify the specific children who are living with disability or are affected by that may not be having easy access to e-learning, okay? You also said the best way to do that will be to have a questionnaire survey because of what it is. We can't perform and a tele assessment. It might be tough for us to do that. You said that we should design, it's important for us to design individual curriculum per child because every child is unique. So we cannot just have one size fit all for everyone. Every child's curriculum should be different from another child. So it must be specific, it must be tailor-made to that child. You said we need to improvise, and that is so true. You know, at the Dewdrops Community Center, we used to have fanciful counter, but immediately we began homeschooling. We're using stones, whatever you have in the house, bring in the pot. One of the trainings we had, one of the classes we had today, the child was identifying letters and was cooking soup with the letters, and he poured it in the mother's pot with water in it. We can improvise, it doesn't have to be all prim and proper. The most important thing is that learning is taking place for our children with disability. And of course, you said we should reach out to them based on the platform that's available to them. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Mr. Adewale. I'll go to the next person, and thank God we have men. So I'm going to, who do I go to now? Real quick. I go to Mr. Akonji Olayinka, Director of Special Ed, Ministry of Education. Hello, sir, are you with us? Mr. Can you unmute yourself? Mr.
Hello, ma.
Oh, good afternoon, sir.
Hello, ma.
Good afternoon. My pleasure to meet you. That's the new number.
Yeah, how are you, ma?
Very well, thank you, sir. So we understand the role the Ministry of Education is playing. And as a director at the Ministry of Education, Director of Special Education, the question I have for you today, sir, is, are there plans to leverage this period to make education truly disability inclusive? Now we know there are problems. We've identified this problem. What are the plans? What are the specific plans that are there plans? Are there plans?
Hello, ma.
Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
I'm hearing you, ma.
Okay.
Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
I said that being a director at the Ministry of Education, particularly the Director of Special Education, the question I have for you today is, are there plans to leverage this COVID period to make education truly disability inclusive for children with disabilities? Are there plans? If yes, what are the specific plans?
2 minutes. Tell them 2 minutes, please.
2 minutes, sir.
Time, because of time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, ma. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Can I speak now, ma?
Yeah,
yes,
you
sir.
can.
Over to you. You have the floor, sir.
Yes. Just
okay, ma. Now, first of all, let me appreciate the organizer of this program, because Oyo State happens to be a state that is friendly with children with disabilities. In fact, presently, ma, lectures are ongoing on here in some of our radio stations in Oyo State here, where lectures are being given to all the students. And with that, we have an interpreter that is interpreting for children that are unable to hear the message. That is one, ma. Two, if not for this COVID-19 program, we were about to start the art and craft competition for children with disabilities when this COVID-19 emerged. We pray that this thing will come and go as quickly as possible so that we can start the program. Again, ma, I have the backing of His Excellency to inform you that already procurement of equipment worth about 26 million naira is already ongoing for our schools with children with disabilities. And already approval has been sought from His Excellency for us to procure. Advert will soon be out for people who are going to supply this equipment. So, ma, Oyo State is child-friendly when it comes to the children with disabilities. And we've been trying all our possible best to even increase the money being given to our children, our homes, where our children are being housed, and the people that are taking care of them, that is domestic workers, so that we want to increase their salaries so that they will be child-friendly with this, our children. We know that there's ability in disabilities, and we know that most of these children, they come from our homes, and we have no other choice than to take care of them. And that is why this program, which is aimed at making learning inclusive for children with disabilities in Nigeria, and to make e-learning truly accessible and inclusive for children living with disability, is one of our key programs in Oyo State. Ma, I just want to appreciate you and to let you know that Oyo State can never just neglect all these children just because they're having one challenge or the other. They are part and parcel of our program. And even the special advisor on disabilities, Mr. Adekombi, if not for the fact that he's on a program now, he will have joined us to even brief you. And you know that he's also a man that is having disability when it comes to challenge, please. So that's to tell you that our state is child-friendly when it comes to these children. I really appreciate you, ma. Thank you very much, ma.
Thank you so much for that response. I just have one question for you just before I move to the next member of the panel discussion. I wanted to find out, because it's a norm. We all know in the disability space that when you see children with disabilities, and I've been to several government schools, are you also referring to the minority, which are children with autism, children with intellectual disability, children with developmental disability? So all of what you've said, which I'm going to still summarize, are this provision truly inclusive, or are they for children with physical and visual and hearing impairments, sir?
You mean the equipment we want to procure, ma?
All of the plans and provision in place, is it all inclusive?
No, what I'm telling you is for the children with disabilities. These are the program for them.
Yes, the question I said is,
yes, ma'am.
Yes, we're saying them, but there's also, we need to understand the place of inclusivity when it comes to children with special needs. We have different categories. So I'm saying for the minority, because usually yes, children with autism, children with intellectual disabilities such as Down syndrome, children with learning disabilities usually are the minority, because in Nigeria, we just have that problem. We always think of children with physical impairment, children with hearing impairment, and children with visual impairment. All of this, the point you highlighted to us that you are already
with all modesty, ma'am, with all modesty, we are taking care of all these digital talent children. We are not leaving anybody out.
Good to know.
We are taking care of every one of them. And we have 33 special schools in Oyo State. We have 33 spread across the state. We have in Ogbomoso, we have in Nishen, we have in Oyo, we have in Ibadan.
Thank you, sir. It's okay, sir. Thank you. We really appreciate all that the Oyo State government is doing.
And the next one, Lola, Mr. Oje,
yes.
who's a teacher,
okay.
please.
Okay. So I'll go to the next person, Mr. Oj, who is a teacher at the school for the visually impaired. Mr. Oj, you are a teacher and you know where the shoe hurt most. You know what you have been in this, you've been teaching, I believe you've been teaching all through this COVID-19 period, at the pandemic period. What would you say had been something you can give credit to that has equipped you for this period to educate your children? And what are your expectations from the government? Mr. Oj, are you there, sir?
there, please. Mr. Oj.
Can you unmute yourself if you're muted?
Mr. Oj. Okay, call the next person.
Okay. Oh, Dr. Ife Akintunde, Vice Chair, Star Children Development Initiative. Are you there, sir?
Good afternoon. I'm around.
Okay, I'm hearing two voices. I'm hearing two voices.
Yes.
Who am I speaking
Hello?
to right now?
Hello, this is Mr.
Oj.
Mr. Jenny.
Prof,
Mr. Jenny.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Dr. Ife Akintunde, I'll get back to you. Now that Mr. Oj is back, let him answer his question. Let him answer the question we have for him. Mr. Oj, I don't know if you heard my question. I'll repeat it again. Did you hear my question?
Okay, repeat it again.
Okay, we understand you're a teacher and we believe that you as a teacher know where it hurts most. And you've been teaching, I believe you've been teaching all through this 8 to 12 weeks that this COVID pandemic has caused it to be a shutdown in our physical classrooms. What are those things that you felt you've been equipped with to be able to deliver good services to your children you're teaching? And what would you want, what more, of course we are all over the twist, what more would you want, what other things would you want to see in place to better equip you, sir?
Okay. I appreciate you, sir, Oma. So the persons with, as far as I'm concerned, we are facing a lot of problems in discharging our responsibilities to the children with visual impairment in this during the pandemic, because many of them, they are not computer literate. Because many schools for persons with visual impairment, no e-library, no computer laboratory, nothing. So if you want to teach them on how to make use of this thing, they don't have it. So if you teach them in abstract, they will not get it. So, and another problem is that many of them that have a phone, big phone like this, they can make use of the phone, but with lack of electricity, we don't have electricity. If I could join you now, I've tried a lot before I could be able to power this phone to make sure that I contribute. So electricity is another problem. And many stakeholders are not joining the government to do this thing, many stakeholders, because the education is not something the government alone can do. See what the Star Children Initiative is doing now. Many organizations are yet to do such. What they believe is that giving them indomie, giving them rice, giving them milk, that's what they believe. They don't believe how to empower them upstairs. So many problems we are facing to discharge their duties. Many are living in rural area where there is no network. And if you want to pass any information across to them, it is now a problem to us.
Oh, wow. So how has it been for the past few weeks? What have you been doing with these children, sir?
We are unable to do anything with them. Little of them that are used to come to my house, we use to discuss on one topic or the other, face to face. But to discharge, to disseminate information online is a problem.
It's a challenge. Thank you so much for having a large heart, for opening your hearts to other children too. It takes a great man, and we truly appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
This is one of the reasons we're having this roundtable discussion. We're talking heart to heart to see ways of moving and ensuring that our children with disability have access to education. Okay, so thank you so much, sir. We'll get back to you pretty soon. And so basically, you said all of what you've said, all of the challenges had already been highlighted by other speakers and members of the panel of discussion. They actually said lack of electricity. We mentioned that public-private partnership is very low. Lack of poor networks, internet network service. And really, according to, I'm quoting you, nothing has been done to educate these children in the last 8 to 10 weeks. This is really sad.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for your contributions.
Okay, you're welcome.
Now, I'll come back to you, Dr. Ife Aketude. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm.
Now, you are the deputy chair person of the Star Children Initiative.
Yes,
You've been a part of this discussion right from the beginning. What contribution would you make? I'm particularly excited that you came after Mr. Oje. So we want you to just give us a few suggestions as to how and what you expect to be done also, sir.
What I expect to be done about what? Sorry.
Oh, the challenges of our children with disabilities not having access to education at this period, sir.
Oh,
this pandemic period.
Well, to tell the truth, the difference between dream and reality is big here. Now, if you are really asking for what I want equal opportunities for all. I once belonged to an organization and the motto was equality, opportunity, and integration. And I've always held that as one of the rules for how we should conduct all aspects of life for persons with disability and all kinds of disabilities as well. The thing about COVID-19, which everyone has been stressing, is actually that there's so many different kinds of disabilities that we're dealing with. But in addition to that, each person with a disability is actually an individual. So even in my area that I know, being a visually impaired person, it's not just enough to say everyone has to have e-learning. The question, in fact, is some people are probably not good at using technology that we have. Some don't have access to the technology. Some have. As a visually impaired person, I can say this as a fact that there's so many different kinds of visual impairment that we don't even know what kind of technology is available. So some people who have maybe partial sight would require maybe large print, others would require braille, others would require audio devices. So when we're looking, we need to look at people as individuals, first of all, look at the disabilities that are included, and actually look at the circumstances from which they are coming into the setup. And if we did that, we would find, first of all, that we would be able to cater for a lot of people. But again, we might find that there are some workarounds. For example, a lot of visually impaired people use standard telephones, and even for people with hearing impairments use standard telephones. And all you need to do is to take the phone and turn on the accessibility. So what's been happening is that a lot of devices are now being made accessible. Standard devices are now being made accessible. And so we may not even need to go that far to find what we're looking for. But we have to ask ourselves the question, what are we looking for? And where are those things? If you look at other things, sorry, the problem is that my phone's talking, so sometimes I get kind of distracted. But if you look at other areas, people who maybe have hearing impairments, they need also to be provided for in terms of the technology that's available, in terms of the people who are trained. And training. Let's not stop talking about training teachers, training even friends to assist. So all these things need to be in place. Now, as I started by saying, there is a huge difference between reality
and dream.
No, reality and expectation.
Expectation, yes, sir.
Yeah. Reality and no expectation and dreams, right?
And
that's
dreams,
what. So that huge difference exists. I understand that insufficient resources, but like I said, even with limited resources, we can do things if we're. I always tell the story of one day when I was looking for something, and what I was looking for was a very simple thing called a signature guide, which I didn't have. And a friend of mine took a piece of cardboard and cut a rectangular hole in the cardboard. And just
like 1 more minute.
The 1 minute is nearly over. I'm just making the point now. Yeah. And just by doing that, they were able to solve a problem that I had faced just by thinking. And so in Nigeria, we might even find local solutions to the problems we have. Don't have to go that far. So it's just about thinking ahead, knowing what we need, and trying to find solutions to those things. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. You know, the Bible, I'm a Christian, so, and I would want to say this. You know, all that I've been able to gather today is that a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. We're all speaking the same language. And when we speak the same language, there's power in unity. All that we've all said today is there's a problem. We've identified the problem. Dr. Akintunji, you said something, Akintunji, you mentioned most of the things Mrs. Adewale had said, you know, we need to identify the specific kind of disability. You also said to us that there's a difference between reality and dream. But even with all of the challenges we're facing, it's a matter of putting our heart to it and finding local solutions that can help the individuals with disability. Of course, you also said something about equality, opportunity, and integration, and it is doable. So all we're saying today is there's a problem. We identify what the problem is. We've also been able to identify what we need to do. We've also talked about how we need to do it. Now we need to go into action. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this discussion. I'll hand it back to.
I would like you, before you go on, Mr. Ope Akinola is one of our partners too, just for 2 minutes to mention, because he was mentioning something like electricity. Yeah, so which, I mean, from what you were saying. So, Mr. Ope Akinola, are you there, please?
Mr.
Ope?
Me?
Are you there, please?
Can you hear me? Yes, I am.
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, just for 2 minutes, please.
Okay, 2 minutes. Yes, okay. It's a pleasure to be on this panel, and I am very passionate about inclusive education and making education accessible to disabled children, anybody anyway. Yes, my own take, I've listened to what everybody has said. I mentioned about energy, power, because if we are thinking of digital solutions, I think it was somebody mentioned it among the panelists as well. Yes. We need to think about power. And so we have to consider the things that are available now. Solar energy, for example, the government in some places might start employing, like in the schools where you have big institutions like schools, you can start doing, installing power infrastructure using solar. I think that is what Governor Fashola did in Lagos to ensure that all the schools in Lagos were on electricity, and that helped the children. I was on a project then, I did a bit of ICT support for some of the schools in those days. And I know that ensured that we were able to work, because before we were having problems whenever we go, there was no power. But with the solar panels, we were able to do what we had to do at the time. So I think that's something, and it's cheaper, because if you buy a generator, you're going to be buying fuel every day, but it's cheaper to use the solar panels. So I think that's something the government might want to consider while we are still in the process of boosting power supply in Nigeria. And that's one of the things. The second one is, somebody mentioned radio earlier, and we mentioned about training. And I think along the line, we also talked about the fact that there are peculiarities to the special education needs of the children. So this has to be considered seriously. Like I was wondering how you would teach a visually impaired child Braille on radio. It's possible, but I mean, it just takes a bit more of thinking, and then the kind of equipment that are available. So I think for some of the lower resource areas, another thing that can happen is that the government can also have equipment that are loaned out to students at certain stages while they think of procuring more. So that way you ensure that some children can have it for some time, and then maybe when they get the skills they need, you can take it. Another child you can rotate it. Of course, considering the COVID-19 pandemic, you have to think about the health issues involved in that kind of thing. Things like disinfecting and all that. But there are things that are also possible. And then, of course, we've talked about using local materials. I remember we used to use things like cartons, these packing nylon bags and all that to make some special education materials in those days. So these are
30 seconds
to look at as a research program, see what we can do. Teaching children colors, teaching them counting, and those numeracy and literacy skills. there are so many ways of passing it on to children with different kinds of needs if we start using everyday materials that are in our house. So importantly, the policy is the most important part of it. If there's powerful and strong, consistent policy framework, which means that, I mean, it's essential now that governments have to engage all the stakeholders, private sector, people are not, so that we can form a proper strategy in how to handle these educational needs of our children. So that is a very important thing that we want to look at. So thank you very much. I think I've...
Thank you so much. Those are valid points. Again, we're all speaking the same language. I particularly appreciate the fact that you mentioned solar energy, because this is free, it's accessible to all of us, everyone. So we can think of working to ensure that we get power by that. And of course, all of you mentioned that things that we already talked about. So thank you so much for your contributions, sir. And that is the end of our segment right now.
Yes, yes. Can you introduce, can I call on, thank you, Lola, you've been amazing. And all the panelists, they've done wonderfully.
Thank you so
can
much,
I call on Rahim Olatuji? Some students are actually participating. We want to hear from them. That we need to amplify their voices, what they want to know concerning their education.
Thank you very much, man. So far, so good. It's been very, very educative and informative. We've been learning a lot from the speakers. We've been saying a lot of things that is going to improve our education. But now, I want to quickly say a very big thank to Professor Biola Osika and other speakers so far. May the Lord continue increasing knowledge. A big thank to our mommy for championing the cause of inclusive education in Nigeria and beyond. We say very, very big thank to you, ma. Thank you so much, ma. Now, we have some students here. These students, they are directly affected. They are directly affected because they are the one that we are talking about and they would like to share their experiences with us. But before I call some of these students, I will quickly want to call on now Mr. Mr. Owolabi Mutiu, who is also a teacher.
Don't call on Mr. Owolabi. I want you to call on the students, please.
Okay, all right.
On the students.
All right, now, all right. Mr. Aliyu is one of the students, visually impaired students. Are you there? Are you online? Please, can you hear me, Mr. Aliyu Gavar? Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, very good. So, how are you coping with learning this during this COVID-19 period? I want you to share with us your experiences before and during COVID-19. What are the differences? Were you able to cope with the situation of things right now?
I'm very grateful. Thanks for the
question.
Yes, I understand your question, sir. I'm very grateful for the great privilege. The situation before the COVID-19. I thank God because of the ICT that I was enrolled. But during the COVID-19, you know, some things are very difficult because of the energy, that is power, electricity. So because in my area, there's no electricity. So for me to go online, it is very difficult for me. Then even the situation of money, that is financial. So it is very difficult for me as a person with visually impaired, although I just graduated from the University of Jos, but there is a lot of challenges with person with visual impairments that we are facing. So as for me, there is a lot of problems that ICT concern or e-learning concern.
So now what you are saying is that inadequacy of power supply has made it very difficult for you to have access to e-learning, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. Okay, let me also call on Samuel Falade to tell us if there is any difference between what you said now, you know, from him.
Quickly.
Hello, Mr. Samuel, are you there? Mr. Samuel? I don't think he's online now. Okay.
Can you call the
Bolu
lady
Atife?
in London?
Okay, Bolu Atife. Bolu Atife, are you there? Please unmute yourself. If you can hear me, please unmute yourself. I see it's online now. Bolu Atife, are you there? Okay. Let me quickly call on Davina Major from London. One of
hello.
This
is Samuel.
Okay, please quickly in a minute.
Good afternoon,
share
sir.
with us your experience. Okay, good afternoon. Thank you.
Is Davina there, please?
Okay. Thank you for this platform. I'm very happy to be on this platform. My experience during this pandemic period is quite pathetic, so to say. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
So my experience during this pandemic is quite pathetic. No electricity supply. So no, in fact, as I'm speaking with you right now, I need to buy 300 naira fuel to fuel the petrol. Now I on my gen now as I'm speaking with you. So, and we are having a financial constraint. So majority of us are living in rural area. So we are having low internet facilities. So, and I'm using this medium to call on the government, the stakeholders, to look onto us, to give us equal access.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello, Mr. Samuel.
Hello, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, please. You have less than 30 seconds.
Our problem is not just giving us indomie and rice. It's not just giving us palliatives again. So give us something reasonable that we can use to enjoy our life as a physically challenged person. So that's my point.
Thank you very much.
What can they use? I think, excuse me, sorry to interrupt. What exactly do they want to use to empower them? Because at the end of the day, there are limited resources. What can they itemize what they're looking for?
Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I understand you, ma'am.
Go ahead, please.
So, thank you very much, mommy. So, what they can use to empower us, academically or morally, or what are we talking about?
What exactly we are talking
focusing.
About
what are the things? What are the things? Basic things you think we can do to improve your accessibility to quality educations?
Yes.
You talk about power supply now. That one is noted. You talk about poor internet facilities. Now, what are the other things aside that to make so that we can have access to quality education via virtual?
Okay, in this in this country, so majority of those those physically challenged lacks knowledge about the ICT. So we need ICT, information and communication technology. So in fact, majority of us, the access to Braille. So the access to Braille is quite low. So that's what I can say.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear from others. Thank you very much.
Can you call Davina?
Mrs.
Davina from here.
Davina Major
there?
from London.
Yeah.
Please, I want you
there?
quickly in a minute to share with us your experiences from there. Thank you. Can you hear me? Davina.
Davina. Oh, sugar. I saw her. Hello. So call another person.
Okay. Boluwatife, are you online?
Yes, sir.
So far so good. In the last 3 months, you know, most schools are closed and government in Nigeria are just thinking about reopening them. So did you mix out anything during this period? And if yes, what do you have access to assistive technologies?
Hello. I have access to assisting technology just a little. So I can say I have missed a lot. So I have missed a lot. I'm just reading my textbook. So that's what I can say. So I have missed a lot during this pandemic. And this pandemic actually shows us that the Nigerian government don't even plan for any emergency period at all.
No.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you these questions. How many of you in your class have computers that can aid their e-learning? How many of you?
None of us, sir.
Oh, that's serious. Oh, that's very serious. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mutio Wolabi. Hello, are you online? Please unmute yourself. I can see you online. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Mutio Wolabi. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
How do you, you are a teacher. You are teaching students with intellectual learning disabilities. And please, what has been your experiences in terms of e-learning education during this period? Has there been any positive response to aid the educational progress of some of your students?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to appreciate.
Just tell him 2 minutes to answer in 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes, please, Mr. Wolabi.
Okay, I'd like to appreciate everyone who has, in one way or the other, participated in the success of this meeting. The point is, I'd like to correct the fact that I am first a lecturer in the Department of Learners that are gifted and talented at the Federal College of Education, Special Oyo. And when we talk about inclusion, which is the opposite of segregation, that is trying to make sure that everyone, irrespective of disability or not, have access to education, which is in line with the Education for All policy. What we actually mean has not manifested in the lives of persons who are gifted and talented. I'd like to make a case for them. Many of the times when we talk about inclusion, we often forget to mention them. And you hear people talking about persons who have hearing impairment, those who have visual impairment, and the rest of them. And nobody is ever talking about the gifted and talented group. So I would like all of us to, from this moment, begin to make a case for them. Because like somebody has said, if a country actually wants success, it should not leave any member of the society out. Any member of the society out of Hello? Can you hear me?
Go ahead, please. Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you. Go ahead.
So the issue of e-learning, many of us, we have mentioned what is peculiar with Nigeria. First, inclusive education in Nigeria, we are not there yet. We still have a long way to go. There is a big gap between what we actually preach and what we have been able to do as a country to ensure that we make Nigeria an egalitarian society. So with respect to inclusion, it should not be about educational inclusion alone. We should be talking about social inclusion. We should be talking about economic inclusion. We should be talking about political inclusion. I mean, every facet of life, we would ensure that individuals, irrespective of disability or not, irrespective of exceptionality or not, can fully participate and contribute positively to the development of society. And part of that is ensuring that for e-learning, we have to, first of all, take care of power, because most of the time you go to places, there is no electricity, there will be, so power is very, very important. And in this, my location, it is rarely to find. So you have to put on your gen most of the time to power your gadgets. And many of our students also, they may have their phones, but if they don't have the power to make use of the phones, so e-learning becomes almost impossible. But I feel that the College of Education where I work can do a lot by partnering with the community.
30 seconds more.
Okay, thank you. So that the college can make its e-learning facility available for persons who are with disabilities. Also, the school should also, I mean, the College of Education should extend its Wi-Fi band so that people living within the community of the college can benefit a lot. It will go a long way in enhancing the e-learning that we talk about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amutio Wolabi. I can see Ms. Juliet Mayor from London. I think it's online now.
Okay.
So please, in a minute, we want you to share with us your experiences in London pertaining e-learning, and to also tell us as parents, what's that been your experience over?
No, the daughter is there and the mother is there. So direct the question.
We also want to hear from the mother to share with us how it's been helping the child to learn during this period. Thank you very much. Juliet Mayor from London, please unmute yourself. You are online.
Okay.
Please unmute yourself. Hello.
Hello.
I don't think. Hello.
Okay, what are their names so that we can mute them? What are their names?
Juliet Mayor. Juliet Mayor from London. Yeah, okay.
Is she there?
Yes, she's online.
Okay. Hello. I can't hear her.
She's muted. I'm trying to unmute her, but she's not. I'm trying to unmute her, but she's. Is there someone with her that can unmute her?
I mean, that would be the host.
Yes, I am. Unfortunately, it's saying ask to unmute. So there has to be somebody there with her that can push the button to unmute her. Okay, she's
muted now.
Is she on now?
She's muted herself back again. She's on now. You can ask your question.
Hello.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Juliet Mayor from London.
Hello.
Hello.
She's signing. She's signing.
Okay, she's signing.
Okay. She's signing.
Let her see her face, please.
Yes, she's on.
Hello, Juliet. Yes, okay, better.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Hello,
good.
hi, how are you? Hello, Davina. So, can you ask the question again, Rahim?
Okay. Please, I just want you to quickly, in a minute, to share with us your experiences during this COVID-19 concerning the education of your child? How have you been able to help her during this period learning? Hello?
You have to be patient. Are you hearing us?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, please. Okay, please.
Good afternoon,
Okay.
everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please, the question is, we want you to quickly, in a minute, share with us your experiences concerning the education of your child during this COVID-19 pandemic, and have you been able to help her learning?
Yeah, good afternoon once more. My name is Juliet Mayor, and this is my daughter, Davina Mayor. Yeah, in the light of the pandemic situation, she's had full access to online teaching, and also another support system called EduLink, which her school put together. Well, it's been okay because I've also been part of her learning, and also I've been in touch with her teachers because before the lockdown, she was preparing to write her GCSEs, which is the final secondary school exams here. So basically, I'll say it's been okay. I mean, we've got access, like we know in the UK, we've got access to internet. So it's not really been challenging for her taking online courses and learning. So far it's been okay, and I've been supporting by way of engaging with her teachers and also being part of the Zoom classes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So
That
now
to tell us that
Davina, that's what has she learned during it's about.
okay.
Yeah.
Please let her respond to that, and you can help her to voice it to us. Okay.
Sorry, 1 minute. Tell me quickly what you have been taught this time, what you have learned this COVID time. Tell me outside. Yeah. Okay. No, what have you learned this time? Okay. No, not about children in Nigeria. You, what have you learned? You, yeah.
During
Yes.
this COVID-19 era.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's okay. So basically, I mean, this period for her, she's been able to enhance her artistic skills because she's very artistic by nature. And she's been able to also engage in posting YouTube videos among the deaf community to sensitize children on some of the things they can do. And she has also just told me that for her in the UK, she knows this lockdown period, she has benefited because I gave her an insight into what this forum was going to be about. So she also feels that she thinks there are children in Nigeria that are not getting the kind of benefits children in UK are getting, and which for her is something that is of concern, although I don't know what she can do to help, but she just feels concerned that she knows children in Nigeria are not benefiting much because when we went to Nigeria in 2016, internet access was one of the challenges they faced. So she thinks that is still ongoing
And she thinks if, as at that time, they didn't have enough access like they enjoy in the UK, so she just feels that some children currently may not be benefiting a lot in this lockdown situation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, man. I think one of the major things I learned from this conversation is that there's need for us as parents to be the number one supporter of our child with disabilities. That will go a long way. And this is a very major challenge for some of the parents in Nigeria who have one children with disability or the other to be their number one supporters and helper. Thank you very much. We hope that in Nigeria, our government, they are going to invest heavily on the infrastructure development so that we can have enough to quality education. I think it's still fall down to infrastructures. You know, with once basic infrastructure, there's no way you're going to have access to e-learning. There's no way you cannot have that. So far, data in Nigeria is very expensive. Unlike London or US, we have some free internet to access so many classes. In Nigeria here, we have to buy data, access a meeting like this. Thank you very much. I will now hand over to my boss, Mrs. Grace Alexander, to continue with the program. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Miss Bumi, Mr. Bumi, okay, what is there? Thank you very much for that panel session.
Thank you.
Mr. Bumi, okay, wallet there, please. Then we round up. Mr. Bumi. Mr. Bumi. Okay, thank you very much. Do you have anything to add, please?
Thank you. I've been learning a lot. So I wonder what I'm going to add that will be but anyway, all I've heard today, all valid. But what I will point out is that just it is important that we access participation for people with disability matters a lot. Equality matters a lot. I mean, if I'm not visually impaired, I don't have whatever I can use the internet to learn more on whatever I want to do with my business or with my career or studies. I mean, someone with a visual impairment should be able to have that as well. That's what I mean by equality. And again, they should be part of policy making. They should be part of I hope everybody can hear me. They should be part of policy making. They should also be part of, they should be part of everything that concerns them and concern everybody. That's just my thought. So with this, I think that's just a little contribution that I can make, to this wonderful meeting. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Bumi Kole Daudu. The manager of Star Children in Nigeria, that is Mrs. Fade Adelani. Do you have any question, please? Do you have any question to ask any of the speakers? I can't hear you. Unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself. Yes.
All right. Hello. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we are hearing you now.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And I want to appreciate, everybody for this fantastic period. And I want to especially appreciate
we can't hear you.
For our strength. Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hello?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Are you hearing me now?
We are hearing you now.
Yes, we can hear you. Can hear you.
All right. So thank you very much. My question goes to the Ministry of Education.
Is it Oyo State or Lagos State?
Oyo State.
Yeah. That's Mr.
The Director of Special Education.
Okay.
Mr. Akonji Olayinka.
Mr. Akonji Olayinka, are you there, please? Mr. Akonji Olayinka.
I'm listening to you, Mommy.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Akonji, and thank you for honoring this invitation. Yes, obviously, children with disabilities are disadvantaged, particularly this period. I'm sure health is wealth, we all know that. But my question now is, what are the plans that the Ministry of Education, particularly special education, have for children that are disabled? Perhaps, this period got us unawares. So what are the plans that you have for children that are disabled? Perhaps we have this kind of experience some other time. Please, although we have had a lot from all the speakers. So in Oyo State, because Start Children Development Initiative is located in Nigeria and is in Oyo State. So what are the plans that you have for us so that we will not be locked down, even mentally? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much, Ms. Alani. I really appreciate you for that question. Yeah. Like I said the other time, Ma, Oyo State government is already preparing for resumption as soon as this lockdown is very much, as soon as we are out of this lockdown, we are seriously preparing to provide all the necessary materials that all these children will need in their schools, like sanitizers, like basis, like pails of water, nose masks. All these things are already purchased by the state government for all schools, not only for our children alone, for all schools in the state. And that the state government is very much aware that these children, they will mix together. There's no way you can disallow them from getting mixed together. But the only way by which you can avoid them having this COVID, having this problem, is by making sure that you provide all the necessary materials that will make them safe during this period. And that is what the state is already procuring for all our schools. As soon as all these materials are ready, we are planning to resume so that all these children will have access to all these materials. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I have another question. Perhaps you didn't get me well, sir. Yes, those things you mentioned, they are essentials as far as I am concerned when they resume. But I'm talking about their education. Learning. For example, maybe, yes, they're learning. For example, all of them now are seated at home doing nothing. There hasn't been any opportunity for them
already, ma. There's online teaching that is in Oyo State for all our children.
For special people.
How many of them are assessing?
For special people.
Yes. How many of them are assessing?
We've already. Hello, ma. All the parents have been enlightened on how to access online teaching. All the parents have been enlightened through the radio and television on how these children can
access. Those are not online. Those are radio and television. We're talking about online.
Then, apart from the online, ma, apart from
hello.
From the online, ma. We also have radio teaching.
We are talking about everybody. You
hello,
had some students.
Hello, ma.
You had some students say they are not assessing anything.
Especially special students.
Special students, yeah.
Special students.
In fact, ma, I'm even surprised that you can still have children that is not accessing this information. Because I was at Splash FM yesterday to see to the teaching and learning of our students, and I was able to see that almost all the students are accessing this information. So maybe we still have to enlighten them the more, so that they get to know. We have posters everywhere. We have stickers. I mean, big posters everywhere in the state, so that everybody can know where to access the information. We have people at lower rate with partners with MTN, so that anybody that wants to access the online teaching among our children can easily have access at very low rate. So we are doing a lot to make sure that these children, they are not losing anything during this pandemic. We are doing a lot. Maybe
these people are hungry. Let's be realistic. These people are hungry. They don't have money for food. They are on lockdown. Social distancing. Where will they get money, even at low rates, to buy? What about those people in the rural areas? What if there are people that are from poor socioeconomic background? They have money.
Okay, we do respect, ma. We do respect, ma. If you are very much comfortable with Oyo State, just 2 days ago, the government, Oyo State governor, distributed palliatives to all the children.
We are not talking about palliatives. We are talking about learning. Forget about palliatives. We are talking about learning. This is not about food.
No, when we are talking, when we are saying that they are hungry.
Yeah. No, I'm just telling you.
You said they are hungry, ma.
They're learning. It's their learning. Let's be realistic. These people are disadvantaged. You are doing your best with the resources that you have. We are not condemning you. But however, more still need to be done. That is the fact you have to tell us. Not that you are doing fantastic. That these people are coming, they are accessing education, but the fact is that they are really disadvantaged. They are really disadvantaged.
Exactly. Thank you very much, ma. I still need to tell you this, ma. Oyo State has never been in this situation before, and this challenge is everywhere, even throughout the world. Even the developed countries, they find it very difficult, ma. So that's the problem you're having. So please, we are very sorry.
It's okay.
It's
about coming together to say that once this situation happens, the whole essence of this doing this is to see that how can these people, children, are no more disadvantaged when it comes to their learning. So what are the strategies? What are the solutions? That is what we are doing.
That you have in place, even for future plans.
Exactly. We are putting heads together to make sure that we do things, ma. Okay. We are putting heads together. I'm telling you, ma. We are putting heads together.
Anyway, we are coming up with our working document, and we like to.
Exactly. In fact, we very much appreciate that, ma. And we are going to work on it, ma.
Definitely.
We are going to work on it.
Thank you very much.
We are going to work on it.
Thank you, Mrs. Adelani, for that beautiful question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my panelists. Thank you, everybody that has participated. Can you just show your photo, your face, so that we can take photographs of all of us on this Zoom, please? Can you just show yourself? I can see my professor. I have another professor. I have another professor here. My son, my last son has disability, and we call him Professor. Yes.
Wow.
Amazing. Yes.
Busha.
So everybody, so that we can now take photographs online.
Bumi, show your face, yo.
Show your face, oh.
Don't come. It's office one. Don't come. Tell Auntie Bumi to show her face that I want to take photograph on Zoom. Ask her.
So, who is going to take the photograph now? Who can take the photograph? Oh?
Let the host do that, man.
Let me call the host.
Let the host.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a few minutes. I'm trying to
get that done. Take the photograph, the host.
Please give me a few minutes. I'm trying to get that done. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Are they taking it now?
No, we're not. We're trying to do that. We're trying to get the full screen.
Okay. Is that Bimpe?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, so take the photograph, so please. Take the photograph. Thank you very much.
This is what this is how we make it.
Can't believe you took this without telling me. Photograph taking. They could have used it. Belongs to all of us. Yeah, you two. Did you know what could have happened if you Okay. I've taken it.
You've taken it. Thank you very much. If I'm mentioning your name, just wave to me. And our speakers, the one representing the Commissioner for Lagos State, is Shomoye. Thank you very much. Fantastic presentation, Professor. Thank you, thank you. We are sending a document. We are sending a document. We're sending a working document which will be presented by my representative in Nigeria, so that the way forward they can now synergize. Then can I, Professor Awoshika? Thank you very much, ma'am. Professor Awoshika, thank you very much, our speaker. Thank you very much. When I come to Nigeria, I'm coming to see you. I'm coming to see you. If I come to Nigeria, I usually stay.
Absolutely.
So we are still going to do a lot. We need you on board. Dr. Ife. Dr. Ife.
Yep.
Yes, okay. Give the vote of thanks. All the speaker panelists. Omolola, thank you. Dr. Ife, take the vote of thanks. We will talk it.
Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Star Children Development Initiative, I'd like to thank all of you for coming, for attending. The speakers have been absolutely wonderful. We've had a whole diverse range of viewpoints, and from government, from academia, from practitioners, from persons with disabilities themselves. This has helped us to have a rounded view of what is happening. Now, when I was growing up, I grew up in a system where the problems of being a person with disabilities existed, but there wasn't the discussion arena that we have now. There wasn't even the technology. So in many ways, things have changed since I grew up, and I'm so glad that there are more people who can talk about this, who can recognize that the problem exists. But when we have recognized, when we have talked about it, the most important thing is that when we finish doing all this, we don't forget what we have said today, but we take it to our places of work, to government, and to everywhere we go, and we bring all these things that we have said into reality, because it would change the lives of the children we're talking about, of the persons with disabilities we're talking about, and it will give them a lot more opportunities than I had when I was growing up. Thank you very much again. God bless you. We hope to see you at our next events.
I want to appreciate Mrs. Adelani as well. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Ife. Thank you, Mr. Okwe. Thank you, the representative or commissioner from Oyo State Social Welfare, and from the commissioner for education, from the commissioner for Women Affairs Oyo State. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a wholesome and beautiful contribution, and we're going to prepare a working document which will be submitted to the Oyo State and Lagos State, their commissioners, and sent to them. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful afternoon and evening, and stay safe and keep well. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh, go 2 hours, over 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Bye, stay safe.
Yes.
But that can not be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
What is it?
Bye.
Bye.
Free from Corona.
Bye. Stay safe.
Bye bye. When you come to Ibadan, we will let you know our details.
One mention. Don't kill one.
Aliyu Gafar láti Ìbàdàn.
Wọ́n kí wọn gbogbo wọn. Mo yọ kí nílé tirẹ̀ níbí ìwé.
Àwọn mi wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pè mí o létà tí mò ń fún ní kí ẹ wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọkọ̀ àwọn èèyàn tó join tó yẹ pé wọn ìgbà náà pọ̀ mo gbé sórí platform sí ẹgbẹ́ sórí èèyàn.
Faces and talents. That's supposed to be me, trying to save the trainer.
Who's that then?
Chief of the Marauders. Trying to guess it's iffy. And this piece, this is the trainer.
Also known as heaven. It's almost like Vigo wanted you to see this.
It's a challenge from him to me. He's daring me to play.
Why did he break Heather's peace?
If the trainer dies in the end, the trainer always dies. Faces and talents. Does this mean no fish?